Hello guys, NautoAce here, and I too want to give my thoughts all about, acquisitions. So of course, ever since Microsoft started buying studios, suddenly now their competitors is also doing the same thing. Sony buying Bungie and even supporting Epic. Nintendo just bought Next Level. And of course, they bought Retro Studio and Monolith in the past. And you get the idea what's going on here. So, again, now you see companies are buying other company. And of course, to some extent, why? Well, because of financial reasons. For people who don't know that Bethesda or ZeniMax was allowed to be bought by Microsoft because they weren't doing good. So, Microsoft said, hey, here's a lot of money. Let us buy your company and you'll have jobs. To some extent, we can do better games because you have more funding, etc., etc., etc. So that's the reason why. And it goes to some extent with Activision Blizzard, but of course, if you know the history with that company, as of right now, they're very vile. Bobby No Dick is a asshole. Everybody knows that. So you know the story there. So that's why they're doing it. In my opinion, I know it's going to be weird. Hopefully it does pass because you got to get rid of that asshole. No question asked. That guy, he's an asshole. What else to say there? So anyway, moving from that one is, of course, like I said, Sony just bought Bungie to help them to do some multiplayer live service games. And then, of course, to some extent, they pitched in to help Epic for something. I don't know what it was. And then, like I said, Nintendo, they bought finally Next Level. They did some of the greatest game I played. And now, the biggest thing I want to talk about is the situation with Square-Enix. So, if you heard before what happened, Square-Enix sold their Western IP to Embracer Group. So, they're actually big. Apparently, I didn't know about it. They own Aspyr. They also own THQ Nordic. They own a lot of company from what I understand. And they're actually good. So, again, I was listening to a lot of people, including Spawnwave. And it kind of makes sense when they're saying that if Embracer Group can do better with those IP than Square Enix, then that's fine. So, Square Enix sold their Western IP. For people who don't know, in the past, they bought IDOS because they wanted to build their repertoire. They want Japanese and Western IP. So they bought IDOS, Crystal Dynamic, IO Interactive. And then, sadly, in the long run, they're not really benefiting Square Enix. They weren't making a lot of money. Biggest, obscure goal, such as the original reboot Tomb Raider. They want it to be 4 million. It sold like 3 million and they're not happy. Whatever. And apparently, of course, their Western IP didn't do good. Marvel's Avenger, I heard that was bad. It's like a game as a service. Of course, you get free stuff, but the game was just meh. And apparently, Guardian of the Galaxy, and I played it, developed by IDOS. It was good. I actually have fun. I need to finish it. But apparently, according to some report, it cost them $200 million to make the game. And unfortunately, even though it sold well, they didn't make a lot of money back. So it's kind of like the same situation where Sega and Shimune, for people who don't know, during the PS2 era, the Dreamcast, that game Shimune, the original one, sold a lot. For $50, it sold a lot, but unfortunately, because the development was so high, they were barely making money back. So again, it is what it is there. So they sold it off, and a lot of people were shocked that they sold it off for a cheap price. And a lot of people just thinking the reason is they're just trying to get rid of it. Sometimes that happens. Just want to get rid of it, just make some money back, whatever. And the reason why they did that, so they can do blockchain, aka NFT. That's the report they were saying. And the thing that I was surprised is, apparently, they were also in debt. So I didn't know that. Just like the Intellivision Amico, Square Enix, apparently they were in debt. So, yikes. So I didn't know about that because I think nobody reported until they probably kept it secret, but hey, the cat's out of the bag type of situation. So with that said, is like I talked about acquisition, is that apparently now there's a new rumor, and actually an old rumor, but it kind of faded away, but it came back, faded away. It was like sporadic to some extent. Is that Sony Computer Entertainment or Sony Interactive Entertainment, aka Sony Play US Station, you know the drill, are interested of buying Square Enix, to a point even Square Enix might be agreeing just to, well, pay off the debt, to be a business, whatever. And believe it or not, a lot of people had said this, that yes, this is sort of an old rumor. I think it started between 2019, 2020. There was some talk, but after a while, nothing happened. And then it came back for a while, and then nothing happened again. Up and down, left and right. True, not true. This rumor resurfaced that Sony, once again, are considered buying Square Enix. And it is interesting. So, my thoughts about it. Square Enix in the 16-bit era, 32-bit era, the PS2 era, I have to say that they were good. When it came to the HD era and beyond, they were starting to go there, in my opinion. Like with Final Fantasy 13 being more action, 15 more convoluted, whatever happened to the original turn-based, and they're trying to get away with that. I don't know, like, I guess I'm just an old fogey. I like the old school style, like Final Fantasy 1 all the way to 6. I do enjoy them. 7, 8, and 9 to some extent as well. 10, that's when the change started. 12, well, if you play Xenoblade Chronicles, you get an idea what it is. And then, of course, 13, 14 is an MMO, and then 15, you know what it is. And apparently 6 is going to be more action RPG again. It is what it is for the Final Fantasy series, but whatever. And they had some other good games too. Like I remember Enhinder's one, Saga of Frontier. I do enjoy it. Of course, they have a remaster, Legend of Mana. They did Secret of Mana remake. I enjoyed that one. Pretty good. Not the same with the original one, but I think it's sort of better quality of life, and it's not really supposed to be the same as the 2D one. Trial of Mana definitely plays like, well, sort of, but again in 3D. To some extent, Adventure Mana, well, that was a mobile game. And I just want to give a tidbit about Secret of Mana. And if people are wondering why this one's not on Switch, or heck, even on the Xbox, it would really make sense on the Switch, since the original Secret of Mana, the 16-bit one, was on the Super Nintendo, and then the collection on the Switch. Why not this one? And the rumor that I heard about Secret of Mana is, for this game, it's sort of a test. So like, what do you mean? Well, the saying is, a lot of the asset, if you don't know, they kind of took it from Adventure Mana. Adventure Mana, if you don't know, it started as a mobile game, and then they ported it on the Vita with controls. But of course, you can also do touch screen control for that game. That's the reason why it's only in the Vita, and you can't even play it on the Vita TV, from what I understand. So they use some of the assets from that one, like the monster, and they put it on Secret of Mana for the PS4. The idea was to use some assets from a mobile game to a console, if it works or not. That's the whole idea. That's why the game was a little buggy. And at the same time also, they probably still figuring out what the Switch is. But yeah, so if you kind of wonder to some extent of why it's not on the Switch, again, it gotta make sense, and it's not. To some extent, what I heard is it was a test. That's what it is. And of course, Trial Mana, there you go. You're like the game, that what it is for remake. Anyway, back to the acquisition I'm talking about. I like Secret of Mana. I like the Mana series. I enjoy it. Good alternative. Okay, moving on. Again, what do I think about the acquisition, Sony buying Square Enix? For me personally, believe it or not, I know it's going to be weird, is when it comes to acquisition, really, I'm not really concerned about it. To some extent, and I know it's going to be a shocker, I really don't care to some extent. Like the rumor about Microsoft buying Sega, if they do, great. They can do better games. They have more money. Maybe Sakura War can have a dub because the one on the PS4 did not. Guy said, oh, it's either dub or multi-language. You get the idea. Again, right now there's no rumor about that one. But to some extent, I mean, if it benefits the company to make more money to some extent, it is what it is. I know there's also the other way, like Rare. Yeah, but, like I said, it is a business. That's how it goes. Sony buying Square Enix. Great. That's what I'm saying. Am I excited? Like I said, doesn't matter to me. Yeah, it's probably gonna suck in multi ways, such as first, Sony censorship. They're probably gonna censor more about the Final Fantasy game or Square-Enix game. But some of them are a bit fans of it to some extent, but not so much. It's kind of weird also, but whatever. Maybe that's the reason why they created that ethics, because I don't really see Square Enix games as a fan service. Maybe minor, like very minor, some of the characters, but I mean, it's very minor there. So, and of course, you got that ethic committee for Square Enix, which is stupid, but again, it is what it is. I don't see Square Enix as a fan service game. However, Idea Factory and Winged Cloud is the opposite. So when I see those games, I know they're about fan service. That's what it is. So, sort of makes sense because, of course, remember they have a close relationship. Of course, in the movie, Sony Pictures kind of makes sense there. So, again, doesn't matter if they buy them, great. If they don't, whatever. And I don't even care if it's Nintendo to some extent. It depends, but it might be a shock. Maybe Nintendo could do it. Hey, Microsoft maybe also. So, but the only reason right now has always been Sony and Square Enix because they have a great relationship. I've been saying that before. When it comes to the movies, when it comes to the game, they do support them. Remember, the first Final Fantasy game that went to the PlayStation 1 was published in the West by Sony. Final Fantasy VII was published by Sony, and Hinder was published by Sony and some other games, even Tobal #1. So, yeah, so does it make sense? Sure. Is it the end of the world? No. Will it impact Smash Brother for the next one? Probably, and I'm credit to Event Hub, that's where I read it. But again, it is what it is, We'll just have to wait and see. So for me, again, like I said, I don't care. Acquisition is acquisition. It's just a business. People gotta survive. Again. So that's my thoughts on the acquisition, especially Sony buying Square Enix, that rumor, which chances are, for me personally, it's probably 40% it might happen, 60% probably not. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And if it does, I'll probably give my thoughts about that one also in the future. So with that, I'll see you guys later.